Perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Matthei. I'm a current PhD student at the University in Aachen in Germany, and I'm happy to present you my paper called Model-Based Public Participation in the Context of Infrastructure Planning. The paper itself is part of a research project called BIM for People, dealing with citizen involvement by using digital technologies, digital methods. So what am I going to talk about? I will start with a short introduction. So basically an explanation why this topic matters. Subsequently, I will present to you my concept of BIM-based public participation, followed by use case and user experience that took place in my study. And last but not least, there's going to be a conclusion and an outlook regarding future studies. Okay. Public participation plays a fundamental role for the success of construction projects. It enables citizens to influence and to contribute in the decision-making process within their communities. And there are currently mainly technical plans, floor plans, elevation sections that are, however, often difficult to understand for those with limited or with no experience in reading them. But the good thing is there are more and more 3D visualizations, 3D models, especially due to the increased usage of building information modeling that promise better comprehensibility, better transparency, and better communication between the different stakeholders. And this is an interesting aspect to use in the context of public participation as well. So in this aspect, it's important to say that visualizations are the only language that all different stakeholders involved can actually refer to, and that's what my study is about. So there is currently limited research in how BIM models or 3D models can actually be used in the context of public participation, and there's also a lack of studies how this can effectively be integrated into participation procedures. So that's why future research and development efforts are needed in this context. So what's the aim of my study? What is my study about? I have two research questions that I'm going to answer in this session. So first of all, how can digital 3D models effectively be integrated into the public participation procedures? So I will present to you the concept of BIM-based public participation. And the second research question is the user experience that took place during our research project. There's going to be a short introduction into this question as well. So let's start with my concept of BIM-based public participation. In our research project, there are two software core products. So on the one hand, there's a common data environment, a CDE, that is the central source of information in our project. It's usually used to collect, to manage, and to disseminate different information between the various stakeholders. Since a CDE is mainly used as a planning tool for planning professionals, we actually developed and used a second tool in our research project as well. And this is a digital participation platform where we provided an IFC viewer so that the public's been able to see different options through an IFC viewer, how an urban area might be developed, and to access relevant information through the digital participation platform. And in this context, we especially use BIM standards like IFC and BCF, but I will come later to that into detail. So what have we done in this case study? In this case study, we developed three options of an urban area. The urban area is located between two bigger German cities. It's an area near a train station, and the area itself is affected by a lot of transformation processes. So together with the planning office of the city and the city itself, we developed three options of how this urban area might look at. And then we distributed around 600 flyers in the neighborhood. We had an announcement through social media, through the municipality website, to encourage people to participate, to have a look at these three options, and to write an objection, to give us feedback how this actually looks like and what their preferences are. So just to give you a short example, all these options been focused on the aspect of creating a mobility hub. So a mobility hub brings together various means of transportation, and can see just one option that we developed together with the city and showed in IFC Viewer to the public. A feature that we used to explain the content of construction projects is called story points. You might be familiar with the term viewpoints in the BIM language. So it's always the case that you kind of combine text with a certain view in the 3D model. And we used that in the context of public participation as well. So in the common data environment, we created these story points as a starting point. So always with explanatory text and the 3D model. And then you could just by scroll through our website, come from one story point to another story point, and the whole project and the different options will be explained to you. So we used this feature called story points in this context. So that's my concept behind moving on with the user study. So what I did, we conducted a survey that appeared at the participation platform. So those who actually submitted a contribution, an objection to this platform, they've been able to also give feedback about the participation platform. So you can see a contribution that's assigned to a certain topic. The person could choose which option he wants to make a contribution to, and the person could also assign a certain location where the contribution is located to. So they've been able to make a reference to a point in the model and to assign it to their contribution. And later on, we will have this feedback back into the planning software and use it later on as well. So who's been the people contribution in our field study? So in total, approximately 600 people participated. However, only 23 participated in my survey later on. So it's a smaller group, but it's a first use case study. And as you can see in the age distribution, the platform appeals to a diverse user group. So usually in public participation in Germany, we have the problem that it's mainly older people who are actually participating in them. And by using this BIM-based public participation platform, the average varies between 18 and, let's say, 64. However, the majority has been between 25 and 34 years old. Some other results I just want to show you. We also asked questions regarding the orientation and navigation by using the 3D model. So what was the experience for those who are not really familiar with using a 3D model in this context? And we identified that there are mixed experiences with the orientation aspect. So some found it either easy, somehow some also found it rather difficult to orient by using the 3D model. However, navigation itself was rather easy for most of them who participated in the survey. Some other features, the storytelling that I just explained to you, there's been a rather positive experience also regarding the location of contributions. So a lot of people who participated actually used this feature as well to point out a certain location. And there's comparison of model variants and the categorization of contributions. That's also a rather positive experience, but it's more in detail in my paper. Just wanted to give you an overview of these aspects as well. Last aspect in the context of our user experience, also an interesting point because I wanted to identify for the 3D model detail or realism preferences. And the majority of those who participated, they actually told us afterwards, we would have preferred a more realistic model, even if it's more difficult and complex to understand. Obviously, it's difficult because you have certain phases in the planning stage and the level of detail also changed. But it also gives us an impression that the preference itself would be to have it even more complex and complicated. However, it would be more realistic at the same time. My conclusion. So in this research project and in this paper, we developed a BIM-based public participation concept, which enables 3D representations in the context of public participation. We identified that scroll detailing that I explained to you with these different story points might be beneficial in this context. Navigation and orientation are mainly seen as positive by using these 3D models in this context. However, there's space for optimization in the upcoming use cases that we're going to have a look at. And the platform itself promises to reach a more diverse spectrum. However, last slide I got with me, there are also some limitations. So we had approximately 600 people visiting our platform that's been open access for 2 weeks. So for 2 weeks, people's been able to participate. However, only 23 participated in the survey. So there's need for further investigation to expand the sample size, maybe to have more comparisons between 3D models and 2D plans as well. So thank you for your attention. Feel free to ask any questions. There's also a QR code which leads you to the participation platform. It is in German, but that might be interesting for you to have a look at. Thank you.